Have you ever lain awake with your mind replaying a single moment over and over, as if you could somehow rewrite the ending and finally breathe? Tonight, you're not alone in that struggle. You're here because the quiet voice in your head has grown too loud, dredging up memories that sting like salt on an old wound. Maybe you choke back tears every time your thoughts spiral into what-if territory, or your heart tightens when you catch yourself replaying conversations that never went the way you wished. It's exhausting to feel trapped in the echo chamber of your own mind, and it's okay to admit how heavy that feels. Imagine, just for a moment, that you could find a gentle stillness beneath the storm. Picture yourself closing your eyes, letting each exhale whisper away a fragment of doubt. In that space, you realize something profound. You deserve more than to be haunted by possibilities that never were. You deserve to rest. As we sit together in this shared vulnerability, you might notice the rise and fall of your breath, a simple metronome guiding you back to the present. This is not a lecture, and you won't find jargon here, only a quiet invitation to feel seen and understood. If you've ever confused your worth with your worries, stayed awake to soothe someone else's pain, or believed that overthinking was the only way to stay prepared, pause with me now. Let the tension in your shoulders melt as you recognize that preparedness can also be softness, and vigilance can be peace. I've wandered those restless corridors of the mind too countless nights, trailing after elusive answers. But there came a turning point when I realized that peace isn't the absence of thoughts. It's the courage to let them pass without grabbing on. Before we dive deeper into this journey of gentle self-discovery, take a moment to subscribe and tap that like button. It's more than a gesture. It's a promise to yourself that you're choosing to keep exploring healing rather than circling old anxieties alone. And if you know someone who wrestles with unwelcome thoughts, share this video with them. Let them feel seen too. Now, settle in. Feel your breath settle. Together, we'll trace the footprints of your mind, learn to untangle the knots of doubt, and uncover the quiet heart beneath the noise. You find yourself in the dim hours, the world hushed around you, but inside your head, an entire storm is raging. Every thought tumbles into the next without pause. Did I say the wrong thing? What if they think less of me? What if I fail again? In that endless loop, you feel the walls closing in, as if your mind has built you a prison from worry and doubt. You clutch your blanket like a lifeline, willing sleep to come, but your racing thoughts won't let you rest. You wonder if peace is a myth whispered by those who never cared enough to listen. Yet in that suffocating moment, a tiny spark of awareness flickers. You are noticing the loop. You're not the thought, you're the witness to it. This realization feels strange, like stepping onto the shore after being lost at sea. You can almost feel the currents of your mind shifting, hinting at a space beyond the relentless chatter. It may be small, just a whisper of calm, but it's real enough to offer a glimmer of hope. Imagine leaning into that glimmer, like allowing light to seep through a crack in a closed door. You turn your attention to your breath, an in and out that doesn't demand perfection, only presence. With each inhale, you catch a glimpse of stillness. With each exhale, you release a fragment of tension. You're learning to ride the rhythm of your own breathing, recognizing it as the anchor that keeps you grounded when your thoughts drift too far. And as you learn this new rhythm, you begin to see patterns in your mind's habit of wandering. You notice how certain triggers an offhand comment, a sudden silence in a conversation ignite entire narratives before you even realize it. You used to believe those narratives were truth, that your worth hinged on every detail, every reaction, every glance. But here's the paradox. The more you chase those stories, the tighter they grip you, drawing you deeper into the labyrinth of what if. The key to freedom lies not in chasing the story's conclusion, but in gently observing it without judgment. So tonight, when your mind drifts into those old grooves, you'll pause and say to yourself, here's that thought again. You won't try to banish it, that only makes it cling harder. Instead, you'll treat it like a visiting guest. Notice its arrival, acknowledge its complaints, and then kindly show it the door. In doing so, you reclaim your power. You become the homeowner of your own mind, not a captive to its tenants. There will be nights when the noise feels overwhelming, and you might stumble back into the old habit of wrestling with every thought. That's okay, healing is not a straight line. What matters is that each time you notice the struggle, you practice returning to the breath, to the simple truth that you are more than your thoughts. Gradually, the walls between you and peace begin to thin, revealing the gentle landscape of your own heart, waiting patiently to welcome you home. Late at night, when the world offers no distractions, you might notice a familiar ache settle behind your eyes. It's the weight of every unspoken word, every decision you replay in slow motion, wondering if you missed a step, a chance to speak up or to walk away. You carry those rehearsals like a heavy coat, draped over your shoulders so long that you forget it's there until the chill reminds you. But imagine, just beyond that familiar knot of tension, there's a soft glow of compassion waiting to unfurl. You think of a time when someone you trusted handed you space to speak without interruption, looked into your eyes as if your words were the only ones that mattered. Remember how your heart eased as you felt seen? Now, picture offering that same gift to yourself. When the mind spins into criticism, those voices that say you weren't good enough, loud enough, quick enough, you pause and whisper instead, "I hear you. You're safe here." It doesn't erase the thought, but it softens the tone. You become your own confidant, your own advocate in the courtroom of your mind. In that space of kindness, you start noticing what truly matters. The mind loves to clutter itself with every worst-case scenario, every what-if that ever dared to cross your path. But peace thrives in simplicity. You might even catch yourself smiling at the absurdity of some worries, like fretting over a text sent hours ago, convinced you sounded awkward, even though your friend replied with a cheerful emoji. These are the mind's little dramas, and you are learning to watch them as if from a balcony, enjoying the theater without getting lost in the plot. Day by day, you create gentle rituals that honor your need for calm. Perhaps it's 5 minutes in the morning, with soft light sliding across your fingertips as you cradle a warm cup in your hands. You breathe in the steam's quiet dance and let your thoughts settle like dusk falling on water. Or maybe it's a walk in the late afternoon, where each footstep meets the earth with a subtle reminder. You are here, alive, part of a story that extends beyond your worries. In these moments, you give your mind a new narrative, one of presence, one that isn't driven by fear, but by the simple act of noticing. And there are moments when life tests you, when an email arrives that triggers self-doubt, or a friend's silence echoes louder than words. You feel that familiar pull towards spiraling. But now, you pause. You feel your feet against the floor. You take a breath. And you name it, this is the spiral. It's not me. That tiny moment of recognition becomes your rebellion against overthinking. You're not fighting the thought, you're unmasking it, seeing it for the story it is, and choosing whether to read on. This practice transforms ordinary days into quiet victories. Perhaps today you catch yourself before slipping into the what went wrong loop after a small mistake at work. Instead of retracing each misstep, you gently guide your mind back to the present, reminding yourself that mistakes are invitations to learn, not pieces of evidence against your worth. You feel a lightness, a newfound freedom to move through life without tripping over the shadows of fear. The heart of this journey lies in the spaces you create, those breathing gaps between thoughts where you simply rest. In those gaps, you find an ever-present sanctuary that no storm can breach. You come to understand that thoughts are like clouds drifting across an evening sky, sometimes dark, sometimes bright, but always passing. And beneath them, the sky remains vast and calm. So when tomorrow brings its inevitable uncertainties, you'll greet them differently. You'll hold your breath for a moment, feel the rise and fall of your chest, and remember this: peace isn't a prize at the end of a race. It's a companion you befriend with every gentle pause. You learn that overthinking doesn't make you stronger, It only hides the gentle soul seeking rest. Let this realization settle in your bones. Let it echo through the corridors of your mind each time doubt creeps in. Because you deserve that softness. You deserve that stillness. And slowly, as you practice choosing presence over worry, you'll feel the prison walls melt away until you stand in an open field of possibility, arms lifted to the sky. Some mornings you awake to a familiar tightness in your chest, the echo of yesterday's worries still clinging to your ribs. You press your palm there, feeling the rise and fall beneath your fingers, and you remind yourself, this too is just a thought, not a verdict. You let your attention drift to the soft hum of life around you, a faint bird song outside, the gentle breeze brushing curtains, and for a moment you rest in that simple awareness. It's in these small awakenings that you begin to notice the space between tension and relief, as if the air itself has softened. Walking into your day, you carry a quiet question in your pocket. What does my heart need right now? It might whisper to slow down, to place one hand over your heart during a brief pause at your desk. Or it might call you to step outside, feel the sun warming your face, and let the world remind you that you are part of something wide and beautiful. You start to respond to that whisper, honoring it as you would a dear friend's request, and in doing so, you build trust with yourself. At moments when the day's demands surge, emails piling up, meetings back to back, you recognize the tingle that signals overwhelm. Instead of recoiling, you lean in. You close your eyes for a few breaths, picturing a gentle wave rolling in and out. You say, just this breath, and you ride that wave, letting it carry you through the current of tasks. It doesn't take long, but that act of kindness towards yourself shifts the tone of the entire afternoon. You find you can move through complications with less friction, less self-criticism, simply because you paused to honor your own rhythm. In relationships too, this practice unfolds like a quiet revolution. When someone's words hit close to home, an unexpected critique, a brusque tone you once would have dissected every syllable, replaying it until it held the power to ruin an evening. Now you catch the sting, place a hand at your heart, and ask yourself, what is my need in this moment? Perhaps you need clarity, so you craft a gentle question. Can you tell me more about what you meant? Or perhaps you need compassion, so you lean back, breathe, and remind yourself that their reaction speaks more about their world than yours. In that pause, empathy blooms. You give space for both their story and your own. Sometimes healing feels like circular work. You slip, you spiral, you catch yourself, and then you slip again. But you're not the first to walk this path. Every moment you notice a return to old patterns, you've already taken a step forward. You've learned that awareness itself is the seed of change, that each recognition loosens a wire in the tangled web of overthinking. You might journal these moments, just a line or two. Caught myself replaying that conversation, reminded myself of the breathing wave. And over days, those tiny entries pile up into proof of transformation. Evening comes with its own invitations. As the sky softens into indigo, you craft a simple ritual. Maybe a cup of tea steeping beside you as you open a window to the cool air, or candles flickering as you rest your thoughts on the page. You let your mind wander, but you greet each thought with curiosity instead of judgment. Oh, you're back. Let me listen for a moment. Often, by the time the cup is empty or the candle has burned low, the mind's clamor has softened into a hum, no longer demanding your full attention. You close the notebook or blow out the flame, and you feel a hush descend, a gentle lull that welcomes sleep without forcing it. And there are days when the old voices grow louder, as if testing your resolve. You might catch yourself tensing at a passing memory, or gripping the steering wheel too tightly on your way home. In those moments, you pause and place a hand over your chest, feeling the pulse there steady, alive. You remind yourself, you are more than your worries. You are the witness of your own life, free to choose whether to believe every passing thought or to simply watch it drift by. Through these daily acts, you weave a new story, one where peace is not a distant legend, but a companion you summon with gentle intention. You learn that resilience isn't steel. It's the soft bend of a reed that sways with the wind and always springs back. You come to trust yourself, that when the storm rises, you have the tools to find calm, that when your mind circles, you have the kindness to slow it, that when your heart aches, you have the compassion to hold it. And slowly, as these moments gather, something remarkable happens. The world outside becomes less of a trigger and more of a mirror. You notice the way sunlight dances on leaves, like laughter caressing your spirit. You hear a friend's silence as an invitation to deeper connection. You feel your breath as a reminder that life is not simply observed, it's felt, moment by moment, with an open heart. Sometimes, in the hush of midday, a faint restlessness ripples through you like a bird's wings brushing against glass, yearning for the open sky. You notice it in the way your fingers drum lightly on the edge of the table, or how your gaze drifts beyond the window, seeking something just out of reach. It's the familiar urge to untangle every stray thought, to map out each possibility before it has even formed. But today, you catch that impulse as if it were a leaf drifting toward you in a stream. You reach out, cradle it for a moment, and let it float past. In that pause, you remember that your mind's creativity, its gift for imagining futures, is a treasure, not an enemy. The trick lies in learning to call it forth when you choose, rather than letting it run wild when you don't. You might picture your thoughts as wildflowers, beautiful when they bloom in the right season, but if they spring up everywhere at once, they can overwhelm the garden. So you become the gardener of your mind, tending to each bud of worry or hope, deciding which to nurture and which to gently root out. You might begin by bringing a whisper of intention to your day. This morning I will notice my thoughts, but not follow them all. It feels strange at first, like wearing shoes that don't quite fit, but with each breath, you slip into that new rhythm. You find yourself smiling when a stray worry drifts by, acknowledging it with a silent hello, and then returning your gaze to the task at hand. In that gentle redirection, you reclaim time and energy that was once spent chasing shadows. This practice ripples outward into your relationships too. When a friend voices a concern that echoes your own inner doubts, maybe they worry they're not doing enough or won't measure up, you resist the urge to spin into parallel anxieties. Instead, you lean in with soft curiosity. How does that feel for you? By asking, you offer them the same space you give yourself, and together you trace the shape of the worry without letting it define either of you. In that shared vulnerability, something shifts. Both of you glimpse the possibility that thoughts are not commands but visitors passing through. On days when the inner critic grows loud, chattering about mistakes, rehearsing regrets, cataloging flaws, you learn to meet it with a whisper rather than a shout. You place a hand over your heart and say, "I notice you're here. Thank you for trying to protect me." It's a small act of rebellion, defying the critic's belief that scrutiny equals safety. You begin to see that compassion, not criticism, is what truly shields you from harm. And with each act of self-compassion, the critic's voice softens, discovering that kindness does not weaken you, it heals. As evening stretches its long shadows, you might carry a gentle question in your mind. What brought me joy today? It could be the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the way a stranger's smile felt like a secret shared, or the simple satisfaction of completing a small task. You pause to savor that moment, letting gratitude gently flood the spaces where doubt once thrived. In naming that joy, you weave threads of light through the tapestry of your thoughts, creating a pattern that guides you back when the darkness gathers. And then there are nights when old fears resurface, whispering that you'll never truly escape the loop of overthinking. On those nights, you return to the breath, that ever-present anchor that has become your steadfast companion. You lie on your back, feel the weight of the mattress beneath you, and imagine each inhale drawing in peace, each exhale sending tension out into the universe. You allow yourself to rest in the gentle rise and fall, trusting that this simple practice is enough. In these moments, you realize something profound. The heart of your journey is not to silence every thought, but to find freedom in the spaces between them. You learn that peace is not something you chase, it's already within you, woven into the very fabric of your being. It lingers in the pause between breaths, in the fleeting smile of a friend, in the soft hush of dusk. And as you practice noticing that presence, sometimes stumbling, sometimes soaring, you discover that your mind becomes a landscape you can wander without fear. So when tomorrow's thoughts come knocking, you greet them with open arms and a steady breath. You remind them and yourself that you are the sky, not the storm. In that knowing, you walk forward with a soft smile, carrying the gentle power of presence in every step. On a day when the sky's color matches the heaviness in your chest, perhaps, after a difficult conversation, a loss, or disappointment, you might feel the old instinct tugging to replay every moment, to sift through each word for hidden meaning. You remember how deep those trenches of anxiety ran before, like rivers carving gorges in your mind. But this time, you pause before stepping in. You place your hand over your heart and feel its steady rhythm, a quiet reminder that no matter how fierce the storm of thoughts outside, there is an unshakable calm within. You might find yourself drawn to a simple practice, holding an ordinary object, a stone, a piece of fruit, a smooth shell between your fingers. You explore its texture, its weight, noticing every subtle ridge or softness. As you do, your racing mind begins to tuck itself around that focus, like curious bees settling on a single blossom. You allow your thoughts to drift toward the challenge you face, but you no longer feel compelled to chase every winding path. You remind yourself, the mind is creative, yes, but not always truthful. It can spin tales that feel true in the moment yet dissolve under the light of gentle awareness. In this space, you begin to acknowledge the courage it takes to face uncertainty, whether it's the fear of a new beginning, the ache of a relationship shifting shape, or the sting of an unmet expectation. You feel the trembling in your chest, not as a sign of weakness, but as evidence that you are alive, open to life's raw edges. With that recognition comes a breath of relief. You're not meant to carry everything on your own. You can extend that ordinary object practice into dialogue with a friend, a mentor, or even a journal entry, extending the invitation, I'm holding this stone and I'm holding this worry. Can I place them side by side and just notice them? In doing so, you discover that vulnerability is not a chasm to be feared, but a bridge to connection first with yourself, then with others. You share the simple image. Today, I held a tangerine in my hand and thought about the conversation that unsettled me. I felt the peel's texture and let the worry rest beside it. You're surprised by the warmth that blooms in response, as if your willingness to name the experience cracks open a space for genuine empathy. You learn that many people carry similar stones in their pockets, and in sharing that small ritual, you build a community of soft strength. When the pressure mounts, deadlines looming, emotions raw, you might pause in the middle of a task and place a hand on your chest, feeling the familiar rise and fall. You whisper, "This heart beats through uncertainty." Sometimes you even write that sentence on a sticky note and place it where you can see it. Each glance at that note becomes a moment of recentering, a reminder that your worth doesn't depend on outcomes. You're not defined by success or failure, but by the simple act of returning home to your own breath. There are afternoons when the silent critic resurfaces, painting your self-talk with doubt. You might hear it sneer, "You should have handled that better." In those moments, you lean into the practice you've honed. You greet the critic as you would a worried child. "I see you trying to protect me." And then you shift your focus to a moment of kindness, perhaps a memory of laughter shared with a friend, or the taste of sweetness on your tongue as you sip tea. In nurturing that kindness, you find the critic grows quieter, no longer the loudest voice in the room. As the weeks turn into months, you notice the fabric of your life changing. You find yourself less reactive when triggers arise. A sudden text that once would have sparked an endless loop now passes by, noted and released. You marvel at how your heart feels lighter, as if you've been gradually shedding the weight of what if and embracing the soft armor of self-compassion. You walk with your shoulders eased, your steps more deliberate, as if the act of living itself has become a meditation. And then come the moments you never expected. You catch yourself laughing deeply, unbidden, at a friend's joke. You find yourself moved to tears during a sunset, not from sorrow, but from gratitude for simply being present. You wake up before dawn and feel a quiet thrill at the promise of a new day, as if the world itself is breathing alongside you. These are not grand proclamations, but small wonders, the fruit of consistent practice, the blossoms of patience. When a major crossroads appears, perhaps a job opportunity that feels both exciting and terrifying, or a relationship crossroads, you lean into the same tools that carried you through quiet days. You breathe into the uncertainty, hold an ordinary object in your palm, journal the tremor in your voice. And in that space of grounded presence, you find clarity emerges not from frantic searching, but from listening to the steady beat of your own heart. You realize that peace is not granted. It's earned through gentle vigilance, through choosing presence over fear, moment by moment. You learn that overthinking never protected you. It only distanced you from the simple truth of being alive. Now, when life's challenges arise, you meet them with open palms, steady breath, and a heart that has learned to rest in its own knowing. Tonight, as you settle into the quiet of your space, notice the gentle rhythm of your breath, how it guides you home to yourself, no matter where your thoughts have taken you today. Remember that every pause, every moment you choose presence over worry, is a seed of transformation sown in the rich soil of your heart. You've learned that overthinking is not weakness, but a sign of your fierce desire for safety, love, and understanding, and that the path to peace is paved with compassion, curiosity, and the courage to let thoughts drift like clouds across a vast sky. In the tapestry of your days, you've woven simple rituals, the tender act of holding a smooth stone, the whisper of a question at dawn, the practice of greeting your critic with kindness. These are not grand gestures, but quiet revolutions that, stitch by stitch, reshape your inner world. You've discovered that the power to calm anxiety lies not in silencing every worry, but in befriending it, offering it space to speak, and then gently guiding it onward, back to the endless horizon of possibility. Thank you for sharing this space, for breathing alongside me, and for courageously choosing to step off the treadmill of endless what if. If this journey touched something in you, please consider subscribing to our community where every like, every share, and every comment helps another soul find this gentle reminder when they need it most. Share this with someone who needs a quiet invitation to rest. Your simple act could be the lifeline they've been searching for. May you carry this peace into tomorrow and every day after, remembering always that you are the sky, never merely the storm.